beginning, Ben always told me what, you know, he let me know what his morals were. He let me know what his core values were. He let me know how he saw his life unfolding, and that he was specifically looking for a wife, and one that could harmonize with him spiritually, and where he can harmonize with her, and they could basically fulfill their purpose, you know, here, and not necessarily be used to thwart the purpose that God has, you know, on each other's lives. So I always knew his values, but in my situation, God had already showed me certain insight about Ben before he even said that to me. So that's why I definitely love Kendra's answer, because I'm always going to say that we all do have that inside of us. Now, do I think that everyone always tunes in? No. That's why we have forums like this, you know, so that I pray that God allows, you know, each time to get proper articulation where it could be put out so that people can understand, you know. But so I had that insight even before we started to develop a deeper friendship. And then when I actually started hanging out with him on a consistent basis, what the insight I received from God way before we started hanging out was confirmed. And not only was it confirmed in the way that he engaged with me, but I saw him engage with every single person. You know, so that's why I always say you have to build on fundamental principles, because those fundamental truths and principles don't stop at just your intimate relationship with each other. You know, anybody who has met my husband, the things that they say about him are things that I say about him, because he has that type of empathy and compassion and intuitiveness when he speaks to everyone, not just me. So I think that's definitely a sign in that way, where if you're looking to see if this is a person that you know, is worth investing your time and energy in, is how consistent they are, you know, with the people, you know, whether they're family members or friends. How consistent is the language when people speak about them and their core values. So I know that was something that, you know, and for me, because I had, as I explained to you guys earlier, I did have that type of reverence, like a reverent fear when it came to commitment and marriage, because I just have seen people make decisions that have derailed their life in such a way because of the intimate relationships that they decided to have, you know, whether it was prematurely or just not having the right understanding. And that really did make me want to handle it cautiously. But I also, the genuine soul, Ben has a genuine soul, so I would never want to do something to him to hurt him or harm him if I wasn't sure that I didn't have the capacity to love him in the way that he should, that he deserves to be loved. So if anything, that just made me honor and allowed the relationship to be more sacred to me, you know. So just the way that I thought about myself and my life, I thought about Ben in that way as well. So I think proceeding with that. Yes, and Ben said he was going to marry me. Yeah, he absolutely did. Keep it real, LOL. He didn't know. He did. He absolutely did. And we were 17, I think. I forget whether it was 3 or 4 months in. He said, "I'm going to marry you." And I was the one who said, "Oh, no, we're going to see," you know. But low key, it did. I felt like something in my spirit was like, you know, but I didn't want to pay attention to it because I wasn't. Something made me think like, you know, he probably right, but you know, I was just like, well, let's see, let's just slow walk and process this. And even though he said that 4 months into it, it took us 7 years to get married, you know. But I always say I never had a doubt in my mind because I just knew the type of man that he was. You know, I think you authentically know if you're really looking, you know. If you're really looking at the person and not looking at the person and looking at them like they're an idea that you want to insert in your life. Like, I didn't look at Ben like he was an idea that I wanted to insert by my side. I just liked him genuinely. I loved the genuine person that he was, whether he's with me or not. So not having the selfishness definitely helps. to not have blinders on. So if you meet someone and you genuinely see them as a good-natured soul, and again, if they're consistent in other areas that you look at, then most likely that person is not going to be a person who's going to string you along and bait you, you know. Most likely if they're just trying to really honor the process and make sure that they know. And that's why I like when I hear maybe some men say, you know, or even some, or interpret when some women say that men have a fear of commitment, that maybe it's on the other end in that way, where that man is like, okay, well, listen, you know, this is a big decision. I'm not going to rush to, you know, you're going to be the person that I'm going to live my entire life with, you know. So I do need to have at least time to process, to make sure that I know, you know. But 10, 20 years, that's a little, that's extreme. You know, that's a bit extreme. And I guess it also depends on what age, because again, Ben and I, we waited 7 years, but we started at 17. So there was a lot of things that, you know, goals that you wanted to have in order before we were married. So of course the age would play into that. I know I got to that place too, where it was like, okay, you know, because I knew how Ben was. It wasn't any second guess of how he was, because he's just always been that type of, you know, for most of you guys know him on here. He's just been that consistent guy. We have friends that literally call us years and years, and Ben is just a consistent guy in the way that his character is. So it was never really about him. It was always about me and my capacity, and I knew how much I was going to have to be vulnerable and how much I would have to grow to be a mother and a wife, and you know, but I think that's I got to that same point that you got to, brother, that I was going to be like, okay, you know what, I'm going to, you know, definitely marry him, and you know what, whether I get hurt trying, it's so worth it. It's so worth it, you know. But I think his character showed me that you know, the hurt that I get wasn't gonna be like, okay, he didn't, you know, broke my heart and broke it into pieces. I think it was more so for me, I'm okay with being completely vulnerable with this process. And, you know, I know that whatever the process is, that I'll always grow upward through it. It wasn't gonna be something that was gonna be toxic or damaging to my soul. And for me, that's the main thing. I needed to know that, because the only thing that I had, I didn't have a list, you know, of somebody tall, dark, and handsome, da da da. I didn't have any lists like that. I only had simple 2 things on my list. Was I just didn't want to be in a toxic relationship. I just didn't want someone abusive. I didn't want, whether it was physically or emotionally abusive. And yeah, and God-centered. That was it, you know. So I didn't have much of a long list. So I think that's what made me really say, okay, you know, I'm going to take my time, but I'm okay with being vulnerable in this process. Brother says, correct. When us men decide to be vulnerable, then we are ready. Yeah, you know, and I would say, you know, I was there too. I'm not a man, but yeah, it was definitely allowing myself to be vulnerable, because I know for me, it's like marriage. To me, I wasn't going to get married, you know, with the idea of divorce in the back of my head, you know. And of course, we choose to be with each other every day, but I just wanted to, you know, have a certain surety that this is a person that I know that I can harmonize with, and this is a person that no matter what, my heart was safe with. And I knew that my heart was safe with Ben. You know, I knew that my heart was safe with him. But I think it's reflective. It's reflective in the person's life. It won't just be towards you, because you can't have this person saying, you know, this is what they're about, this is their, you know, their ethics and, you know, their values, and then when you see them engage with other people, that takes a back seat, and that's not really true. That's definitely a clear sign that, okay, this person's not that consistent, you know. But I think the more and more you also at least have patience for God to show you the purpose of why that person was brought in your life. You know, I think that's really key. I think that's what will help a person not rush into a relationship. You know, maybe an intimate relationship that wasn't really necessarily supposed to be intimate. Maybe it was just supposed to remain at a friendship level. If we just, you know, be patient enough with the process, God will definitely let you know. Yeah, God will definitely let you know what that person, who that person is to you, you know. And I always laughingly kind of joke, because when I got my insight about Ben, it did not it did not, like, you know, equate to he will be for me or by my side. I just thought he had such a genuine character about him that I actually tried to place him with my best friend in high school. I had no interest in that way, no kind of selfish interest, like, oh wow, he's this amazing guy, so I want him for myself. No, I actually tried to set him up with my best friend, because I thought, you know, they both had genuine gem characters. And look at me, I was about to pass my blessing over. Thank you, Jesus, you didn't let me do that. But you know, no matter what, God knew what he intended that relationship to be, even though that wasn't something that both of us was necessarily going for. It just naturally happened. So Kimberly said, wow, with the bestie. Yes, I did. I'm so glad she was like, no. I'm so glad she was like, no, you know. At that point, she wasn't interested in him. Somebody else was interested in her at the time. So, yeah. But, you know, but I guess that's the idea that, you know, what's for you is for you, right? What's for you is for you. And, you know, can't really take that away. See, I'm trying to pass my blessing. God's like, girl, keep that blessing in your lap.